morning, I'm Paolo del Rosario and welcome to Weather HQ on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Let's take a look at today's headlines. Pag-asa Weather Bureau is monitoring a low-pressure area on the east-northeast of extreme northern Luzon. The LPA may turn into a tropical cyclone. More details on that later on in our show. In Vietnam, Asia's most powerful storm this year, Typhoon Yagi, also known as Enteng in the Philippines, left 21 people dead and over 200 others injured. Yagi damaged factories and infrastructure in export-oriented industrial hubs and disrupted power supplies and telecommunications in Vietnam's capital of Hanoi. The typhoon also caused extensive flooding, felled down thousands of trees, and damaged homes. I talked to two city mayors on how to include climate action into city governance. They attended the C40 Cities Southeast Asia Regional Academy held here in the country last week. Let's take a look at the local weather. Based on Pag-asa's forecast, the southwest monsoon is still the dominant weather system affecting Luzon. Residents of Ilocos region, Apayao and Abra will experience occasional rains, and it is important to stay vigilant as this moderate to heavy occasional rainfall may lead to potential flooding and landslides. Moderate to, at times, heavy rains are also expected in the Cagayan Valley, in the Central Luzon, and the Cordillera Administrative Region. Now, over here in Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, and the Bicol region, these areas will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. So, for those of you who will be going to work, be prepared for any adverse weather conditions. Now, for the rest of the country, specifically in Visayas and Mindanao, expect localized thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. Meanwhile, at 3 a.m. today, a low-pressure area, or LPA, was spotted 1,155 kilometers east-northeast of extreme northern Luzon. Now, this low-pressure area may develop into a tropical cyclone. Now, to know more about the details of this LPA, we have on the line Veronica Torres. Good morning, Veronica. Taking a look at the LPA right now, ano pong epekto nito sa Pilipinas?
Itong low pressure area na nasa loob ng ating PAR, gano'n din naman sa nasa labas, walang direct effect sa kahit na anong parte ng ating bansa currently. However, nagkakaroon naman ito na indirect effect, yung LPA sa loob kahit papano ay nakakahila ng southwest monsoon o habagat, kaya nagiging mas maulan naman sa mas malaking parte na ating bansa na caused by southwest monsoon. However, yung nasa labas na LPA ay wala pa namang direct effect.
Veronica, are there any chances na ang LPA na to magiging tropical cyclone?
Apo, so yung mga low pressure area na minomonitor natin, sa kasalukuyan ay hindi pa nga rin natin nirule out yung possibility na ito ay maging isang ganap na bagyo. So if ever, kung itong nasa loob ng PAR natin ay maging bagyo, maglalabas agad tayo ng weather bulletins. And then, kung yung nasa labas naman, maging bagyo, kapag nasa advisory domain natin, ay maglalabas tayo ng tropical cyclone advisory.
Veronica, taking a look at the current track ng LPA na to, if it does become a tropical cyclone, is there going to be any chance na magla-landfall siya dito sa Pilipinas?
Yung low pressure area po sa loob natin, ayun kasi yung mas nakikita natin clearly since malapit po ito sa ating landmass. So itong nasa loob ng PAR natin, kung magiging bagyo, nananatiling mababa naman yung chance na mag-landfall, pero posibleng magkaroon ng epekto bandang Northern Luzon or Extreme Northern Luzon area. Posible kasi nitong baybayin yung area malapit sa ating PAR line.
Veronica, kanina nakita namin sa mga forecast ng Pag-asa na baka may isa pang potential weather disturbance ang minomonitor ng Pag-asa. Is there anything happening in the eastern part of the Philippines?
Apo, yun nga po, yung isa pa nating minomonitor na bagyo, labas na ating PAR. So, yung LPA na yon, hindi rin naman natin nirule out yung pagiging bagyo nito at posible rin naman itong pumasok ng ating PAR sa mga susunod na araw. Ito naman, i-announce natin agad kapag pumasok na ito na ating PAR as a low pressure area or as a bagyo. Kung bagyo, maglalabas agad tayo ng bulletin, or kung as a low pressure area, i-announce natin at kasama na ito sa ating weather forecast.
We'll be waiting for your updates. Maraming salamat. That was Pag-asa Weather Specialist Veronica Torres. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you din po.
Now, let's take a look at the weather conditions in selected provinces and key cities in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We start off first in the north and over in Luzon. Cloudy skies with rain showers and thunderstorms are expected over in Lawag and in Tuguegarao and Baguio City. Watch out for thunderstorms in the afternoon or in the evening. Now, residents in Olongapo can expect generally fair weather conditions with low chance of rain. Habang dito naman sa Metro Manila, Olongapo, Tagaytay, Puerto Princesa, generally fair weather conditions is expected. Range of temperatures of 22 to 33 degrees Celsius. Moving on to Visayas, generally fair weather conditions is expected, in particular in Bacolod and as well as Iloilo and Metro Cebu. Now, all the way to Tacloban actually. Now, for those who will go to work, make sure you bring your water bottles because the temperature is expected to reach up to 32 degrees Celsius. Moving over to Mindanao, good weather conditions also expected in Cagayan de Oro, Metro Davao, and in Zamboanga. Now, with the chances of low chances of rain rather, whatever your activities are today, make sure you bring your umbrellas to protect yourself from the heat. Once again, also stay hydrated because temperatures could reach up to 33 degrees Celsius. Now, what should we expect in the weather in the next 3 days? Let's take a look at the 3-day weather forecast from Pag-asa. Take a look at the weather forecast here in Metro Manila. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you will enjoy good weather because tomorrow we'll expect relatively cloudy skies with rain showers and thunderstorms as well. The sun might show up on Wednesday and Thursday as well, but be prepared because there is a higher chance of rain in the upcoming days. Moving over to Cebu, generally fair weather conditions is expected in the next 3 days. But according to Pag-asa, there is a 60% chance to 90% chance of rain in this particular region. Moving on further down south, good news for Davaoenos. Good weather is expected in Davao. Range of temperature is from 25 to 34 degrees, so fairly consistent weather here all around. Enjoy the weather, enjoy the sun. Of course, still a few chances of rain as well. We'll give you the global weather after the break. Stay tuned. You're watching Weather HQ. Welcome back. You're watching Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Now, let us take a look at some of the weather happening around the region, and particularly the ASEAN countries. Now, for those who will fly to the ASEAN countries for their business trips or even for pleasure, here's an update on the weather around the region. Now, to our Filipino workers, overseas workers in Brunei, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia, be equipped with your rainy day essentials because the southwest monsoon that we saw a while ago is expected to bring partly cloudy skies along with rain showers and thunderstorms. Here's a range of temperatures in these countries, 27 to 32 degrees Celsius, so not a lot of variation there. Now, moving on though, in particular, the center of the Typhoon Yagi is now in Vietnam and it continues to dump moderate to heavy rains. The typhoon also brings light to moderate rains in nearby countries, specifically the northern part of Laos and the northern part of Thailand and the eastern part of Myanmar. As you can see here, the weather all affected by Typhoon Yagi, formerly known as Typhoon Enteng in the Philippines. Moving on to North America, for Filipinos working in Canada, maximize the good weather conditions. Now, despite the sunny weather, the temperature is 18 degrees Celsius, so a bit cool there despite the sun shining all day long. Over in Europe, as we go to Berlin, Germany, cloudy skies is expected. Watch out for thunderstorms though all throughout the day. Again, the weather conditions there as well as the temperature as high as 18 degrees Celsius. Over down under in Sydney, Australia, enjoy the good weather while on Sydney Harbour cruise, and the temperature could reach up to 18 degrees Celsius as well. Cloudy weather expected there, resulting in that 18 degrees Celsius weather. Moving on to the African continent. Enjoy your safari tour in Kenya and Africa, but make sure to dress up accordingly because the weather could reach up to 28 degrees Celsius. A lot of sun expected there, a bit of cloudy weather as well. Up next, city leaders talk about specific action plans to fight climate change. More on that story when we return. Welcome back. You're watching Weather HQ on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. We asked the question, how can leaders integrate inclusive climate action into city governance? Now, to answer this, I talked to two mayors who met with city leaders and policymakers from Southeast Asia last week for the C40 Cities Southeast Asia Regional Academy. That was all held here in the Philippines. Here's the interview. We're very, very lucky to have them here with us today. From Quezon City, Mayor Joy Belmonte. And of course, from Sierra Leone, the Freetown Mayor, Yvonne Aki-Sawyerr. Kusheo, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm really happy that you both are here. Mayor Joy, this is an interesting time to be having this academy because of the fact that this was delayed by a month because of a storm.
Yes.
Which only just shows us how urgent this matter is.
Yes, we were supposed to have it last month and then Typhoon Karina hit. And so we moved it and you know that song, isn't it ironic? So ironically, we had it at the same time as another typhoon, Typhoon Enteng. But at that time, they had left the country already. And then when Mayor Yvonne arrived, she said this is her first typhoon ever.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, this is a great experience that you actually can tell firsthand and not through, you know, just stories, how it is like to be in the Philippines during a typhoon.
Mayor Sawyer, you mentioned first typhoon ever that you've experienced. I mean, you're leading the charge of combating climate change and you finally experienced it. How was it?
Well, first of all, I wasn't entirely sure that I had full disclosure from my colleague before I got on the plane. But I must say I'm grateful that it was, you know, clearly not as of the scale that you've experienced in the past. But it still was very sobering. I think with your typhoons, with the wind, the rain, and probably more the anticipation of what's to come, brings it home. Climate emergency is not a concept, it's not a notion, it's not something we're thinking will happen, it's something that's happening today. And
Mayor, back in 2019, you issued the city resolution SP 7999, which is announcing, or at least putting Quezon City under climate emergency. Since that particular resolution was passed, just what gains were made by Quezon City?
Well, we declared a climate emergency in 2019. This was the act of the City Council. And as a result of that, we were able to create a Department of Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability, the very first of its kind in the Philippines, in any local government unit. The task of that department is just to keep advocating and come up with projects to address the climate crisis. Now, and as a result of having this, we were also able to come up with a plan. So this is the Local Climate Change Action Plan, and every C40 city has to have this plan. And we have assistance from, of course, the international community to put it together.
Mayor Yvonne, this regional academy in particular, collecting leaders from all around Southeast Asia to try and combat climate change. What are the biggest priorities for this particular academy?
when you break that down into what the individual interventions will be, city by city, it's very important that we ensure that that work is inclusive. Inclusive from the perspective of ensuring that the most vulnerable, the most affected, generally speaking, women and the youth, are built in. So if we are developing actions, we must ensure that we are very deliberate about utilizing women in those actions, bringing their voices. Studies have shown that you have a 20% less mortality in the event of a disaster if you have women involved in the disaster recovery process. And similarly, you have 40% less economic loss where you have women in policy making when you're working through climate interventions. This is data.
Yeah.
So this academy is about inclusivity, making sure our climate action interventions are inclusive.
Mayor Joy, the youth, the role that the youth will have, how do you feel that this academy will try and tackle that particular issue?
I'm so happy because the youth of Quezon City, the SK of Quezon City, have climate as their third most important priority in terms of budgeting in every barangay in Quezon City. So that means that our efforts to try to educate the youth about the importance of climate action is working, and the youth are responding and taking charge.
Mayor Sawyer, how do you see the youth actually acting on climate change at the moment?
So coming in as global co-chair of C40 Cities, I had 4 priorities, youth being one. Heat mitigation, multilateral action, and access to finance, something that Mayor Joy is very passionate about as well. And so how do you prioritize the youth? The reason is, as Mayor Joy has said, they are the future, but they're also the present, and we need them. They have been a driving force in raising and amplifying the importance of addressing the climate crisis. Our job is to help you. Part of helping you is making resource available to you. We're not here to dictate to you, but we do know that your ability to communicate to your peers is greater than ours.
There's a lot of peer learning, there's a lot of knowledge being exchanged here. Just how important are efforts like this to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction with regards to the battle against climate change?
Well, extremely important, because this is a global battle. It's everybody's battle, right? No exception. So this particular gathering that we have delegates from Indonesia and Jakarta and Kuala Lumpur, and then the Philippines, and of course from Freetown as well. And they're supposed to be working together. These are policymakers, executives, sharing best practices, but also discussing, engaging collaboratively about how they can together solve certain problems, and dissecting as well what works, what doesn't work, so that we can all move together towards one direction, because at the end of the day, all of us, as dictated by our local climate change action plans, are headed towards net zero by 2050.
That was Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte and Sierra Leone's Freetown Mayor Yvonne Aki-Sawyerr. Now, before we go, please stay tuned to BNC's special coverage of the Senate hearing on POGOs live at 10 a.m. today. I'm Paolo del Rosario. This has been Weather HQ. We'll be with you again tomorrow, whatever the weather. You've been watching the Bilyonaryo News Channel.